Welcome to the C Note Show with myself, Jeff Allen, and Cynthia Cruz. Our topic today: more sex without more talking. Help her be turned on easily. Men ask, in this phase of our relationship, things have been on autopilot maybe for a long time. And I've been reading books and I want more intimacy and closeness with her. But it seems like I just end up talking or asking her the same questions. We go around and around, and she gets more upset, and it doesn't seem to help. So what really motivates a woman to want sex or want more sex, especially in a marriage, especially in a long-term relationship? And what can I do that's not just more talking or trying to talk her into it or having the same conversation? Cynthia and I are going to talk about that today on the C Note Show. She and I believe and practice and teach that loving and being loved is an art. Sure, there's some science, and we're going to get into more of that today, but we practice and teach deep conscious intimacy, what we call level 3 deep conscious intimacy. Last time we spoke about, she thinks I'm blaming her when I share my feelings. So go back and watch that one. Otherwise, today, more sex without more talking, help her be turned on easily. We're going to get into this today with Cynthia. Many of our clients come to us in this kind of a spot. They feel like she has a shield up. And this man posted, she is for sure cold and numb right now. She's always been very headstrong, and she's even stronger in this moment. She will not reply to any compliments. When I tell her she looks nice, she's not accepting or very rarely replies. She will not say, I love you right now. She's been very focused on getting things done more now than ever before. She will only engage with me during family time or about the children. She doesn't show any emotion towards me. I think there's more going on, but these are the more obvious things she's doing that I notice on a daily basis. This is a great example of what men are experiencing when they come to us, right? So what can you control? The Stoic Triangle, we teach this in other videos and in our coaching. Well, you could buy more mushroom sex chocolate. I found this today and blocked off the nice, they're not the sponsor of this video, so I blocked right. You could go buy more female pleasure booster and try to slip in some sexually enhancing dark sex mushroom chocolate. Or you could go to the Mayo Clinic website and read, well, try different sexual positions, different time of day, different location. Ask your partner to spend more time on foreplay. If you're open to new ideas, toys, fantasies can help spark your desire, lubricants, moisturizers. Okay, yeah, thanks, Mayo Clinic, but she doesn't want to even maybe look at me right now. You could find memes online that say pithy, impractical things like all relationships have one law: never make the one you feel alone, especially when you're there. Well, I want to ask Cynthia about this actually. I'll pause here. So, you can't make someone feel alone, just like you can't make them feel open or connected with you. You can invite them. And yes, especially as a man and masculine energy, which we talk about, and for both men and women, you want to be present, of course, so you can be there. You can, with your energy, with your focus, with your presence, invite them to not feel alone, but you can't make someone feel alone. So when we see these memes online, Cynthia, what does this mean to you in your feminine and professional perspective? What does it mean you don't make them feel alone? What does that sound like from a woman's point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's different layers to this. At the even pithy things strike me that there's some very core energetic truth in that. And sure, if let's say this is from the feminine perspective, and at the energetic core of this, it's really about her with the idea that when you're present with her in heart, body, soul, this this natural feminine, like, I never want to be empty. She'll never have to feel that way. She'll have your presence, and that is sustaining. And yeah, there's absolutely the masculine who hasn't been introduced to this work, who uh might be on a date with a woman and he's on his phone the whole time, and that's just like such an ache for her and such a lonely feeling. At the very like level 1 part of this, it's like the feminine just gets to toss over her shoulder any self responsibility to her ability to show up, her ability to soften her heart in the moment with you and really feel you. And a lot of times, women, without knowing that, get into the habit of constantly blaming you that her heart doesn't feel warm and liquid and honey filled, as if you're supposed to pry her open and magically fill the ever emptying space in her.
Yeah, we're going to get into the three levels of relationship today briefly, but let's go here right now since we are talking about this. Your job as a man in a level three relationship is to come to that space feeling good about yourself, feeling grounded and knowing who you are, inviting her into opening, but not being reliant on her to validate you. Or if she doesn't open, then you're a butthurt little boy. To come to her with that invitation. So, groundedness in yourself, openness, joy, and invite. What's her responsibility in those moments? If the man's doing his work, he's coming to her present, open, inviting her to connect, say, and but you still make me feel alone. I still feel alone when you're there. What maybe you were insinuating there? What maybe is she not doing within her responsibility to open herself or to not feel alone when he's offering that?
I mean, there could be the part of her thinking, wanting something deeper than what is present in the energy exchange between the two of you, if I gave her the benefit of the doubt. But again, I think even as I'm hoping the story is shifting through time, but it probably the time that your wife was young and adolescent and growing up, there there was the story, there was the belief that she will feel infinitely lonely until the masculine saves her, opens her, and is 150% there for her all the time. And anything less than that is a negative, something's wrong, and something must be done to make you show up that way.
So certainly part of the story of her expectation is a big piece of this.
Yeah.
Good. Let's keep going. Absolutely. You could find this on medicalnewstoday.com. Sexual arousal includes both psychological and physical arousal, right? There's many ways down here. Okay, maybe cardiovascular health is a concern. Maybe mental health is a concern. Maybe relationship issues are a concern or sexual beliefs. That's what Cynthia was just saying there, the cultural story, the family story around this, right? So both of those things could be a part of this. Well, what's level one? I'm going to tip my hat here in a few over the next few minutes to tip my hat to. Well, what is level one instinctual desire and safety? There's what, let's say, all women, most women would likely be attracted to. And then there's going to be your one woman. And obviously she's different. Maybe she's going to want something in particular. Maybe she likes giant muscle guys, or maybe she likes a dad bod or whatever. Okay. But most women are going to want these level one instinctual things. You see on the left axis, there's the security triggers or security wants of wealth, status, and prestige from you with you as a man. And there's attraction triggers on the other axes of your physique, your verbal play. This is also called game, or your social competence with her, right? Having fun in the moment verbally with her. And then there's your strong social circle. These are attraction triggers. So if you have great friends or other women are attracted to you, these are attraction triggers, right? Okay, well, what if you have neither security nor attraction? She's going to say, no, you're going to be an invisible person. She has no consideration of being intimate with you. What if you have high security but low attraction? So you're wealthy, you have status, but your physique is totally off point. You don't know how to talk with women. You don't have friends or a social circle. She's going to think you're boring, basically. And a lot of men fall into that in marriage. So you grow, you put all your money or all your time into making money or prestige or growth like this, and you really let all the attraction triggers go. You're not dancing with her emotionally, metaphorically, or literally. You've let your social circle go. Okay, if you just have attraction triggers and no security, you're fun, but she wants both of these things, obviously. Okay, so this is level one. This is instinctual desire of most women, to point that out here because we work with mostly guys. All right, well, what's level two? Healthy communication. Part of the deadening and boredom in bedrooms today, this article says, is because we don't know how to ask for what we want, like, need, or we don't know how to say what we don't want, don't like, or don't need. It's about not having the ability to form language or even feeling worthy. So level two is about saying what you want. It's pretty straightforward. Saying what you want without shaming, blaming the other person, healthy communication. This is called nonviolent communication. This is what therapy teaches, right? Okay. But you have to say, and you have to know first and say what you want or what you don't want. That's pretty much what level two is. Are you able to do that? Are you able to stay open when the other person says what they want or what they don't want? Approach the conversation with positive curiosity. This is also part of level two healthy communication. Find a way to make the conversation fun and inviting and light and enjoyable. And it has to feel that way within you first. So I'll ask Cynthia about this. Fun, inviting, light, enjoyable. There's so many men that would say, that we work with, like, okay, I'm trying to make this fun, inviting, light, and enjoyable, but it seems like any kind of conversation around this, especially right now, she finds completely the opposite, like pressure. She doesn't want to talk about it. The opening post, here I'll come back, the opening post said she'll do family time stuff, but no intimacy. She doesn't even want to talk about intimacy. She's closed down. So in that spot, how can a man consider this and a level two healthy interaction? How can he reframe it? I wonder what they think about this. Some women don't want to even talk about it right now. So open that for us. What if she doesn't even want to go there? What would you say?
Yeah, and that's the heaviness I feel like right in my gut, the pain of being in relationship with someone who doesn't even want to have the conversation. I would imagine that comes across as so dishonoring to the relationship and so devaluing to the human being, like standing right in front of them. And I think that just that core human experience ties into why so like many women are don't even want to talk about it because they have their reasons, they have their shells, they have their story, they have their connections to the past with you and maybe long before they met you. But at the core of this, whenever you bring this up verbally, she's going to feel in the seat of her feminine that she's failing, or you're saying that she's failing basically at being a woman, a partner, a feminine being. And what she does with that feeling of failure is kind of in her own sculpted way. It could make her really, really angry. Uh, it could make her collapse, but a lot of that experience for her is unconscious. The truth of it is really unconscious. So it comes out in really bizarre or very hurtful ways, including a lot of emotional cutoff or her body language literally cutting off from the experience.
So I'll ask you more about this in a second. If you're relating to this, if you have questions about this, definitely punch into the chat. How can you relate to what we're talking about? What questions do you have? I'm going to keep going. So you said there a lot of this may be unconscious to her. What is that? Most men are watching this. Most of these guys that are here, most guys are watching this. So take us into, what do you mean that it goes into an unconscious place if we were to bring these things up? Not, she doesn't even want to have a conversation. She feels blamed for that. She feels like she's wrong. Take us another level deeper there.
Yeah, I think that even goes into more of our level one discussion, or even her evolutionary knowing that part of being in relationship and being in romantic relationship is a physical sharing, and you combine that with a lot of stories and messages about that should just be so easy, and that's the gateway to her being totally seen and loved and in that feminine, even princessy state. And when it doesn't feel easy, when she feels something opposite and she has a combination of feeling like you're unhappy and she's unhappy with you, and there's this collapse and crash of that instinctual drive in her is going to feel the failure of it and even the shame or guilt, and then quickly go into more habits of how that underlying experience is expressed in her, and a lot of that is to blame someone else. I think the last part of that is just in human nature, we often get together with people where there's a reflection in the mirror. Women, in particularly, are so good at that. And so, even if with all the pressure you receive, all the things you want, but feel like you don't get to have with her. And even if there's a vibration of anger slash feeling like a failure in there, and then she has her own conscious stuff, it just comes into a storm or a disconnect.
Yeah, that's well said. Absolutely. So let's keep stepping forward. What about level three, deep conscious intimacy? What does that even mean? And these are pieces of what we teach. By the way, check out more of our stuff, greatmenmovemountains.com, if you want to get on our wait list, see new teaching videos, all that fun stuff. Okay, deep conscious intimacy, level three. Number one, practice feeling confident, direct, and fun in all areas of your life. Okay, Jeff, that's really easy to say. Confident, direct, and fun in all areas of your life. Well, that's what this work is. The first phase of this work is to bring your purpose, to bring your daily practice in the morning, to bring your journaling for 3 minutes into consistency every day, every week as best possible, right? This isn't about getting an A plus every day. But if you don't feel confident, direct, and fun in the rest of your life, how the hell do you expect to bring a good energy into the space with your woman? Okay. And I'm happy to answer questions. We talk about this every day on every group call, every week on one on ones that I do with guys. So if you have questions about that, ask or come to our forum or email me. Okay. So you have to be able to, in your own life, regardless of a woman, feel confident, direct, and fun in all other areas of your life fairly damn consistently, right? This is also why men throughout history have segregated themselves from women because it's much easier to do when you're not around women when you're not around a woman. So you have to be able to walk before you can run. So what would you need to feel confident or more direct or like you're having fun in other areas of your life, in your friendships, at work, when you get up every day for the first 15 minutes of your day? Okay, that's an important piece, and I'm happy to answer other questions otherwise. Number two, and I'll ask Cynthia about this, you have to get clear on what's the higher reason to have a relationship, not just because I want a relationship or because I want sex with a woman, or, well, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Have a relationship. You have to get clear on what's the higher reason. This is the higher call to grow together, to be together. And some examples, this is again from a Google search. If you're not sure of words, guys, Google it. Okay. These are some words from marriage.com. Relationships provide emotional support. So I want emotional support. I want to foster my own personal growth, resilience with a woman together, with a person together, companionship, sharing life's joys and challenges, deepening intimacy more than I could just within my own self, right? Opening my horizons to spirituality, intimacy more than I could do myself, nurturing a sense of belonging together, right? Cooperation together, grow a family together, and have that bloom over time. So these are some words on what's the higher reasons to have a relationship. So Cynthia, from your point of view, from a woman's point of view, why is this so vital? Why does a guy, or anyone really, but why does a guy need to have a thought process, a vision of something higher, and some words behind, well, why be together? Why is that important to have a third entity?
Yeah, and I would imagine this can feel confusing, especially if you're comparing it to what you know of your partner, your wife at the very beginning of relationship when everything was driven by hormones and she just seemed happy go lucky with that. I think as a woman grows through time in relationship, there is her feeling not valued, not seen, if intimacy is only about just physical, let's say, gratification, or just a connection for just as connection is. To have this idea that there is something else here that we're cultivating, that connection is filling the cup of this adventure that we're on together, that physical intimacy is adding fire and power and intention to this adventure that we're on together, helps her feel like the different parts of her are more known, and even helps her feel like she gets to know the different parts of you more And that's really key for the feminine in the longevity of connection together. That there's a deeper knowing of her and a deeper knowing that she gets to have of you.
So what about that is so important to the feminine? Why is that important, would you say?
That's a really good question. I think there's a little bit of an existential part of that. It's a little bit of the way of the feminine processing that, physicality in life, being in a physical body, being in a certain kind of body doesn't last forever and ever, that there is an end. And that's a really uncomfortable thing for the feminine to feel because she would wants to feel the cycle of life and rebirth and continual and unending. So for her to have meaning with you, it gives her a sense of almost energetic, the energy of legacy, of the ongoingness of things, the ever blooming adventure, and not the exact opposite of, well, everything's status quo and just fine. We don't have to exert extra energy. So it's just a, a flat landscape from here until it ends. The feminine, the masculine in her can probably handle that kind of, but the feminine in her that feels like nothingness and grayness and feels like she doesn't get to be alive.
Yeah, that's really well said. I'm smiling because there's so many. Let me say this a different way. Part of the masculine is how can I make everything good and I can just wear the same shirt every day. That's the inside joke from before. I can just wear the same shirt every day. I can cook the same food. I can burn as little calories as possible. I hunt the buffalo. I bring home the buffalo. It feeds the tribe. We burn as little calories as possible, and we do that. And we survive. And yeah, we have kids, and they continue to do the same thing. Most men want to have a streamlined process and burn as little calories as possible because that makes sense,
Yeah.
right? That's the yin or the yang energy, right? But the yin energy is the opposite of wanting more fun and chaotic moments and feeling emotion highs and lows and the dance of life and not be concerned. So there's this sense of freedom each way. One sense of freedom is I got everything handled. I don't need to think about anything. And more of the yin sense of freedom is freedom to dance, freedom to not worry about shit. And we both want all of those, but that's what I haven't heard you say it that way before. It's a way for her to feel ongoing legacy and joy in this way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's step forward. We'll take a look at the chat. We're going to open up to questions here in a second. Number 3. So number 1 was practice feeling confident in all areas of your life outside of her, especially first. Definitely need to get that handled. Number 2, what's your higher reasoning for relationship? And that might take some work, journaling, thinking over time, searching on it, watching videos on it. And number 3, as a man, inviting your partner or a woman, but we're talking to men here, inviting your partner into small moments together. And if you don't feel confident, direct, and fun, if you don't feel there's a higher reasoning for your relationship, that's a non-starter. But even if you believe those things, and then you just sit back or are forever waiting for her, or you're fine if things are in limbo, then nothing's going to move. And that's a big question guys have with us is, all right, how do I move things? It seems like she's okay with limbo. Well, you're inviting her into moments, and then every, let's say 3 months or so, you're looking back on the previous 3 months and you're thinking, how much has she stepped into what I'm inviting her into? Is my relationship, is my life moving in an overall positive direction? Any one day is going to be up and down, but am I inviting and is she stepping into that invitation? There's a man in the chat that says, what if you're at a level 0 relationship? Okay. Well, you don't have a relationship. Then you're probably not attracted to one another. There's no healthy communication going on. She's not taking your invitations. Right? It's kind of, what are we talking about here? But from there, well, what can we do? So another man asked, my wife is a home health nurse right now, and her patient has been in the hospital for the past week, and she has a job hunting. She's hunting for a job and having a hard time with the search. And she says that's her focus right now. Okay. Are you able to come in and talk with us about this, by the way, about her
Yeah,
spot?
I'm here. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's the biggest pain for you that she's totally focused on that or bring us into your spot more, please.
Well, that's it. Like I said, everything was going fine, but as soon as that patient went to the hospital, it cuts her pay.
Mm.
So she's been hunting for jobs, like she's trying to get back into the hospital. and she's not having a good time with getting callbacks from recruiters and this and that and other. So basically, she says that's where her focus is right now. So intimacy and everything is on the back burner because I guess she feels that she's not completing her purpose in life right now.
Mm.
And she
Yeah, that
said, sex clouds our judgment and brings us off of focus.
Mm.
oh, sex knocks her off her center, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Have the two of you been
She
in a
be like, she
spot like
saying,
this before?
well, yeah, but it was different. That was when we was in a bad place, but we've been in a good place for the last 3 years. But like I say, she say sex makes her lazy and this and that and other, and she can't focus, can't get nothing done during the day because as she calls it, she ties what she say. So she say she needs to focus
You got the magical
and
wand,
lead.
buddy. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, in a second, I'll ask what your question is. We understand this. We can relate to this. Cynthia's talked about this a lot. That being in that space for a woman is one where she lets go of all
Yeah,
checklists, right? Yeah. Okay. So,
yeah.
what might be your question from there?
What I was just saying was that I guess like that's what she's telling me, and most of the time we have good communication. So I don't think that she's giving me the BS flag, but I can kind of tell that it is something going on with her mentally. But how can I be there for her and just not crowd her space? Because does tell me sometimes that I'm too masculine and I don't show hardly any emotion. She said I don't have loving and kindness, and that's another part.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about this for a minute. So, for instance, if I'm growing a garden in the backyard and I become super busy with work, I can't just not water or tend to the garden. The garden's going to die. So, this is
Right?
the idea over time, right? Over a long enough time frame. Or
Yeah,
a pet around the house. I can't just avoid watering or taking care of the pet that's going to have issues, right? So, this is the idea in the relationship. And this is part of the number two here, getting clear on why relationship, what about the relationship is serving both of you. But I'll jump from there to, okay, Cynthia, I have some ideas, but I want to ask you, so how can he invite her to do small bits of connection, and then he also that don't necessarily throw her off as much, maybe.
Mhm.
And then also he just said she feels like he's maybe too masculine, doesn't have compassion for this.
Mm.
Let's talk about that, please.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing this and adding a new word to my vocabulary, which I really like.
What was that, dictified?
Digmatized.
Digmatized? Yeah.
And so part of me feeling her, I don't know if you've seen Maslow's hierarchy and that bottom rung we all have of survival. And I even feel in myself that bottom survival feeling is shaking a little. It's really hard for me to attend in an adult way to the higher levels, to the belonging, to the relationship connection. I think one of my things I've learned being in relationship with a very masculine man where I feel myself pulled and magnetized is uh having the container created around me of a partner who understands I might be shaky in this one level. And it's almost like he has this sight out for me that even us connecting for 10 minutes, let's say, but he's also holding the vision for me that I'll be able to return to what I need to after 10 minutes. uh, Helps me build the muscle as a woman to recognize I can be in total surrender, be magnetized, and then also attend to the form and function that Elise is making me feel a little unsafe, even with myself at the moment.
Yeah. So from there, what I would say is there's times to talk about money and there's times to connect and be romantic. And
yeah,
this is sometimes an upstream problem where maybe we haven't been very good about differentiating those times, where it's kind of a romantic dinner and then we bring up money, or it's a connected moment and then we start talking about parenting. And what we're doing
yeah,
is we're jolting her out of a more open, relaxed, feminine moment for her potentially into a tasking or
yeah,
that kind of thing. So that's often the upstream problem around this. But Otherwise, yeah. So from there, for instance, I would say, hey, I want 5 minutes with you. Come lay on top of me, for instance, or come sit in my
Oh,
lap.
she'll do that. Like even at night in the bed before we go to sleep, she'll lay on my chest and go to sleep at night. You know what I mean? But as far as being intimate, and like you say, we'll be having a conversation about us, getting that connection, and then she'll bring up finances. But that's not the time to be really talking about finances. So I kind of just say, yeah, I understand what you're saying, and kind of just shift the topic back to where we was. But she look at that as me being ignoring with her.
Hmm.
And like I said, she asked me a question and want my opinion. And like I told her, I said, I'm always give you a logical answer. But she gets upset because it's not the emotional response that she's looking for. And I told her, I
Okay.
said, that's just me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, sure. So let me give you a little trick. Let me give you a tip to try, and then you can come back and talk with us about it. Okay. So
yeah, we'll do.
you can ask her, and most guys have heard the first part of this. You can ask her, do you want my opinion, like my logical opinion, or do you want me just to be emotional and empathize with you? So
Yeah,
you can ask her that, and she can tell you. Okay. The second way to try this, which I haven't said very often, is, and I do this, which is, okay, I'm going to give you the logical answer first. What I call it is I'll put on my CEO hat or my business owner hat,
yeah,
so that your woman knows that's what you're about to do. You're about to say something logical about whatever, money or your opinion or structure. Okay. And then I'll pause and I'll kind of let that sit for a minute. And then I'll say, okay, now I'm going to respond in an emotional way, or now I'm just going to be here for you. And I do that. And it's kind of supposed to be a little bit funny. It's a little bit of a
yeah,
game, right?
yeah,
It's not too serious. But that way you are literally practicing one or the other. She's either telling you what she wants, in which case you got to practice, breathing, opening your chest, relaxing, allowing her to
yeah,
be upset, and just like, yeah, I'm totally here for you, baby. Right. If she wants you to say your opinion, then you say your opinion, and it helps her differentiate that as well. So that's where I would go with the two of you. It really just
gotcha,
like naming it and then practicing each one of the two different pieces with maybe 30 or 60 seconds pause in between. That's what I would
gotcha,
do for homework for you. Yeah. Give that a shot and let us know how it goes.
gotcha. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And let's add one more layer. There's guys thinking right now, you said the BS meter or something. There's guys thinking right now, well, my woman always circles back to me doing something wrong, and that's not your fault. If that's the case, that's not actually your responsibility. So what I'd
Yeah.
suggested is that, right? Yeah. How does that come across?
Oh yeah. And that's how I look at it. Cause she'd be like, well, this, that. I said, look, those were things that was done in the past. We through that, everything has come to where it needs to be. So like she'll say something like, if say we have some credit card debt and she's trying to do everything in her mind to pay it off real quick. I'm like, you don't have to rush and run to take care of it. We can take care of it in like a couple of months. You don't have to do it like right away. And so with me saying that, it's like you don't care. You just be like, oh well, whatever. You know what I mean? But that's not the case. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I
It just
totally get what you're saying. And so
yeah,
I'll add a cherry on top of what I already said. So if I do the emotional thing, she's like, I just want emotional support. And I give her emotional support, and then she shrugs it off. I would say, no, no, come here. Come over here, sit on my lap, give me a hug. I want you to breathe in. I want you to accept. I want you to open to that I care for you. I want you to open to what I'm doing, and ask her to open for you when you're practicing being emotionally supportive of her.
gotcha.
Yeah. Good. Good. That's a great question. I love it. Thanks, man. Good to see you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Come on in, please.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Just looking at the second bullet point, like the higher reason, so like after divorce, which is where I'm at, I've been seeing this girl for a while, and it's kind of like I wonder what her expectations of me are going to be. We've been seeing each other for a while, and it's like I have no fucking desire to even think about marriage or something long term. But on the other hand, I still, I like her. I enjoy spending time with her, and I don't see a reason to like break up with her. And so, you know, I'm just kind of like trying that's sort of like the spin cycle going through my head. And, what do I do with that? if anything. I mean,
Sure. Okay. Well, let's talk about this. Yeah. I mean, I work with lots of guys after divorce and they're all the same. Like, I'm not interested in talking about marriage. I might never get married again, but I might be open to it, but I'm sure is not going to be forced into it or rushed into it. And I don't want to disappoint her. You know, most women have the expectation that they want to get married someday, or at least that's the conscious and unconscious. I'll ask Cynthia about this in a second. Okay. So my guy answer is, I may be open to that someday, but I'm not interested in thinking about that right now. That's the guy answer. And I'm sure you've said something like that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I can't get married. I mean, legally, I can't get married anytime soon, but also it's like, that's out there in the future for me, if ever. That's pretty much the answer.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And so let's say a guy says that, which we've told stories about us before too, which I'll save for another time. What might you add, or what would you ask from there in particular?
I'm curious, do you feel like any higher reason for a relationship for her is totally built on marriage? Or do you sense that there might be other higher reasons you might share together with soul, growth, creativity, adventure?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a lot of parallel sort of like ideas of how relationships should go. I think, she was in not such great relationships. My relationship didn't end well because it was not great either. I mean, because we were just sort of like on different pages. We seem to be on the same page in a lot of those things, like adventure and how we manage our separate lives with our separate kids. And so there's a lot of commonalities in that regard. And it's just a matter of like, okay, we've been seeing each other for, I don't know, several months. And, it's just kind of like, there's nothing broken. So like, why fix it? We're still having fun. It's still, it's still exciting because we're also, like an hour and a half apart. So, and we have kids every other weekend. So we see each other, a couple times a month, for a few days at a time. So that's kind of the sort of like the makeup of the I don't know, relationship, I guess, if you would call it. So, but it's kind of like I don't have any other. It's not like if I broke up with her, well, why? Well, I don't know. Like, why would I? I don't have a reason to break up with her at this point, other than the fact that it's like, okay, yeah, like putting it, coarsely, like we talked about earlier on in my thing, Jeff was like, well, yeah, I want to date a bunch of chicks. And it's like, okay, well, I met a girl that I actually like so I don't know.
It's almost like there's two parts of you. One wants permission to keep dating this girl, and one wants permission to not date this girl, I think. And then there's the future concern of, well, if she wants to get married, or is it, well, do you have a particular concern? I'm not sure what your particular concern is.
Well, I guess just the expectation of what she may want, and how
She wants,
long.
let's say she wants to get married.
Well, then the answer, I mean, that's a no.
Okay. So you'd say, what would you say?
I would say I'm not in a position to do that at this point. And,
So this point, does that mean at some point you'd be in the position that you'd want to do that?
I think so. Yeah. At some point, but it's like, I don't see it out there. It's not like in the next 18 to 24 months. It's not like it's within that time frame.
Right. Okay. So let me give you a little bit of feedback. When
Yeah.
you answered, you were like this with your arms crossed and your shoulders like in your ears, right? Okay. That looks super defensive, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm glad you're asking this question because saying, well, no is very different than not right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you want to date a bunch of chicks, you need to break up with this woman as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because like that's only going to get worse down the road for both of you
Yeah.
if that's the case.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe that doesn't mean break up forever, but you and I talked about that. It's a whole other
Yeah.
discussion. But you have to, this is a great question. And I talk with every guy after divorce about this. You have to have a good answer to this. And
Yeah.
Cynthia was leading you toward what's a great answer: soul connection, growing together, the horizon of discovery with one another, deepening with one another. None of those need marriage. None of those require marriage.
Yeah.
And if at some point, like many women, she pushes for marriage, then you'll have a great answer and you'll be chill about it and relaxed about it. Like, well, that's definitely not on the table for me right now. It might be sometime in the future. What I really want to see is us continuing to grow in our soul connection, like you're driving toward a horizon that you'll never reach.
Yeah.
Because really, that's relationship. And so if you get really good with a woman over time of driving toward the horizon of growth and depth and level 3, and this is what we talk about, in like a totally chill, great way, that's what you want. And then over time, to be blunt, she can show you whether she's going to be able to join you on that journey without trying to pressure you into some kind of ultimatum, which is a no-win situation for the relationship if she tries to give you an ultimatum like that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's super helpful feedback because it's kind of like that's where my confusion is right now. It's like, all right, well, this is good. I thought about that. Kind of what's the perspective of it? Because I'm not sure. I've never been in this spot.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's an awesome question. What might you add there about what I had said about her willingness or desire to keep driving toward the horizon of growth and depth versus or not and not pressuring him in the short term, let's say. What would you add to that?
Yeah, that pressuring in the short term, that level one instinctual part of a woman who's trying to calm her own anxiety. Because if she knows at any point the relationship can end, she knows at any point she could say something wrong. There's the inherent anxiety in there. And so if she's pressuring, it's her trying to soothe her own anxiety and kind of put walls around something, but at a very, caveman, cavewoman level, which I totally empathize with. The opposite of wanting to, she still may have that part of herself, but there's also a part of herself that wants to go toward the horizon. When we talk about things that we can grow in a relationship soul wise, it is the infinite horizon, the idea of personal growth that we get to work through with this other person, these deep parts of ourselves we never could have done all on our own. She could never have done all alone. That's the infinite horizon. And even sex, I like to think of sex as almost like the wild west of soul growth patterns that come out in people, because it really is something that's so intimate, and the horizon is infinite in that as well. And so if that excites her to be on the edge of the horizon with you, what can be grown and learned and experienced, even if we're not together forever, there's excitement and adventure there in that, and edge. And yes, relationship has edge. And that's what makes her attracted to you and also scared. But if she tries to dull out your edge or dull out the edge of the relationship by making it boxed in safe, the longevity of that doesn't have the points, doesn't have the muscle that uh, playing with edge in the horizon does.
Yeah, that's really well said. So leading her to that idea is what we're doing, right? That's what you're wanting to become good at. Good stuff. Thanks. Great. Let's take a step forward and we'll wrap this up here in a second. How do I know if I'm ready to be in a relationship? Okay, this is a whole other topic for another time. You're self-aware, you understand your own needs, values, goals. You can handle both joy and challenges without being overwhelmed. This is for you and her, by the way. You're open, honest, ready to listen and compromise. You have the capacity to invest in building and nurturing a relationship. You've addressed and healed from the past wounds. This is what are required. And this is what we work with guys on as well. But she needs this too, right? She needs this too. And that's what Cynthia and I work on. Cynthia, what are some final thoughts for today on this topic about what we talked about from you, please?
It would be so easy in this situation, I would imagine, to want to turn a blind eye to what the feminine in partnership with you is truly wanting and needing. And I really appreciate feeling in all of you this tenor of leaning into the edge and being the strength and the wisdom that you already are, and for you to offer an option to either the woman that you're with or another woman you're with in the future, of that something, the third entity, the horizon, the ever evolving and blooming adventure. It is such a gift to the feminine, and really can start to bring water to her, even if she's gotten really closed up and clenched down in that kind of survival place. it is something that her soul's horizon is craving with you, and it's not prevalent out there. So you hold something that's truly golden and truly needed and truly powerful.
Awesome. Great stuff. Appreciate you guys. See you next time. Thanks, Cynthia. Ciao, guys.